Okay. Who remembers this one from grade 10? We didn't spend a whole lot of time with it. Tanner? We spent some more time with perfect squares. This isn't really necessary, but it can be your friend. I'll explain as we go. Perfect square trinomials. They're still trinomials. We can still factor these. How did we do them yesterday? What was it called? Method of decompression? Decomposition, yes. Complete the following. I hope we know how to do that. Is that p squared plus q squared? Say no. First thing you do is this. P plus q squared is p plus q, p plus q. If you don't do that, you're going to get it wrong. This is a binomial times a binomial. Okay? That's just like 3 squared is 3 times 3, right? P plus q squared. P plus q times p plus q. Now we can FOIL it. First is p squared. Outside, pq. Inside, qp, which is also known as pq, plus q squared. Can I simplify a couple things there? How many pq's do I have? I have 1 pq and 1 pq. That's 2 pq. That's all I can do. That's a trinomial, right? 3 terms. How about p minus q? P squared minus pq minus pq plus q squared. Collect the terms. How many pq's do I have? Minus 1 is minus 2 pq's. Look really similar. The only difference is the sign on the pq term. All right? The first term in the trinomial, that's this one, is the square of the term in the binomial. First term. Okay? I don't know if this is helpful or not, but we'll fill it out. What they're saying is p squared, well, you know first means p times p. So this is the square of the first term in the binomial, right? The last term in the trinomial, that's q, is the square of the last term in the binomial. Q times q is q squared, right? Square root of q squared is q. That's all they're saying. This is the important part. The middle term in the trinomial, that's this, is what? How do we get this from this and this? There's a 2 here. What's the word for 2? Double or twice. Yeah, either or. We have a billion words to say the same thing in English. The blank of the first and the last term in the binomial. That's 2 pq. So that's 2 times the product of the first and last term in the binomial. All right? So we just kind of investigated that. Now we're going to highlight it. In a perfect square trinomial, that always happens. Okay? The first and last terms must be perfect squares. Cassidy. And the middle term is always twice the product of the square roots of the first and last terms. Shoni, quiet please. Okay, this is helpful. If you don't see that, you may not recognize a perfect square trinomial. All right? Which of the following are perfect square trinomials? Well, we got to look here. What's the first part? The first and last terms must be perfect squares. Let's check that. Is this a perfect square? I know that's a perfect square if I can take the square root of it. Can I take the square root of a squared? Yes. 4, the last term. Can I take the square root of 4? Yes. Now this is the trickier one. Is the middle term twice the product of the square roots of the first and last terms? Is it twice the square root of a squared times the square root of 4? Is that 2, what's this? A, what's this? 2, that's 4a. Is this 4a? Then that's a perfect square trinomial. Sorry? No. Okay? Let's look at the next one. Dannon, quiet please. Can I take the square root of x squared? Is that a perfect square? Yes. Can I take the square root of 6? Is that a perfect square? No. You're done. That's not a perfect square trinomial. This guy. Can I take the square root of 4x squared? Yeah, it's 2x. Can I take the square root of 81? Yeah, it's 9. Now, the trickier one. Is this 2 times the square root of the first one times the square root of the second one? This is 2x. This is 9. What's this? 4 times 9, 36x. Yes, it is. Therefore, that's a perfect square trinomial. Okay? Last one. Can I take the square root of y squared? Yeah. Can I take the square root of 16? Yeah. Is this guy 2 times the square root of y squared times the square root of 16? That's 2 times y times 4. Sure. Okay. Fill in the blank. So that this is a perfect square trinomial. Okay, so they're saying that it's going to be. Can I take the square root of x squared? Yeah. Can I take the square root of 100? Yeah. We got to make this a perfect square trinomial. What is the middle term? How do I get it? If it's a perfect square trinomial, I have to go 2 times the square root of the first one times the square root of the last one, which is 2, what's the square root of x squared? Hope we all have that by now. Okay, square root of 100 times 10, and that's what? 20x. Yes? Oh, that's a negative, isn't it? Thank you.
Wait, how?
Don't worry about it.
Wait, how is that not right now?
Don't worry about it. Just scratch it out. That's confusing.
I know, but I would have got.
I should have skipped that one.
That you
Don't worry. Don't worry about it.
But what if she is right?
Okay, don't worry about it. Thank you. Let's go on to this one. Okay? Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. That's confusing. I would skip that one if I knew it was like that, okay? Let's make this a perfect square trinomial. This needs to be 2 times the square root of x squared times the square root of 100. Hey, didn't I just do this one? That's 20x. What's the difference here? There's a minus sign. Okay? That one will work. Okay? So why are we doing this? Could I factor this the old way? Yeah. But look at this guy. Let's first find out what this middle term is. Okay? How do I get it? That's going to be 2 times the square root of the first one times the square root of the last one. Okay? What's the square root of 25x squared? 5x. I have a 2 there. I have a 6 there. 2 times 5 times 6 is 10 times 6, 60x, right? Okay. If you were given that and you were said, and you'll get one like this on the test. Okay? Factor. How do we do it the old way? I go, what multiplies to 25 times 36, and adds to 60? Does that look big and ugly? There must be another way to factor this. Okay? That's why we're doing this. So, on to here. Factor. That's actually maybe not that bad. Okay, but what we find... Oh wait, I didn't even finish this one. Fill in the blank, each is a perfect square trinomial. Well, I finished the question. Okay. How do I factor that? I'll show you how easy a perfect square trinomial is. What's the square root of 49x squared? What's the square root of 1? Okay, this is a minus, so that has to be a minus, that has to be a minus. It's factored. And what if you want to write it like this, you can. Okay? Remember the guys we started with? This thing squared. Perfect square trinomial. So they can all be written like that. Now don't confuse this with a difference of squares. A difference of squares, remember, we don't have the middle term, because anytime you multiply by its conjugate, that thing is gone. There's no x term. Okay? Is that a perfect square trinomial? If that is 2 times the square root of this times the square root of that, 14x, it is, then it's a perfect square trinomial. Okay? Is this a perfect square trinomial? Because do you want to go what multiplies to 25 times 16, what adds to 40? You can do it, but if you see that this is a perfect square trinomial, can I take the square root of this? Yep. Can I take the square root of that? Yep. What is 2 times those? Ah, that's a perfect square trinomial. 4 plus 5x squared. I'm done. Easy mark if you remember this, okay? And you will get one on the test. I can guarantee you, the kids who didn't remember what a perfect square trinomial was, they didn't get the mark in the test, okay? Because maybe it's going to be something like this. Plus 135x plus 81. Okay, you guys have to ask yourself, is he really going to give me something like that? What adds to 135? That's huge. Oh, there must be a greatest common factor first. Let me look. What can I take out of 225, 135, and 8? These are odd, that's even, nothing. I'm not going to do this to you. I'm not here to kill you guys. There must be a better way to do this. It must be a perfect square trinomial. What's the square root of that? Anyone remember square root of 225? Someone does. 15x. What's the square root of that? You're done. If you expand this out and FOIL it, you will get this thing. Okay? That's why it's a special type of trinomial factor. Okay? Okay, that's it. Again, sorry about this one. I hate giving ones that don't work in the first couple. Okay, we want ones that do work. Okay, I'm not trying to confuse you. The ones you get on your test will all work. I'm not going to give you a big ugly guy that you can't factor. Actually, I'm not going to give you any question you can't factor. Okay? So don't say can't factor it. That's not an option. That's why I don't like these types of questions. Okay? Just pulling your hair out. All right?